So we don't even actually know what he does yet. But our new Draconic Warrior is going to be awesome. And it's for one simple reason. I'm finally going to be able to Blaze Headlong in between my weapon swings, and it's going to be sweet.
A huge shout out to our channel members for supporting what we do here. If you want to get involved with the channel and the Dice Commando community, please consider joining as a channel member. Remember, these videos are only possible with your support. You can show that support with a like, a subscribe, and by leaving us a comment and sharing your feedback. Community first, and go Commando.
Hey there, my flesh and blood friends. Welcome back to Dice Commando and Go Again, a fabulous cast. And thanks so much for tuning in today as I am sharing my excitement about Draconic Warrior incoming. That's right, technically Royal Draconic Warrior incoming, now in the form of Fang. Now, I am not excited about Fang himself, and we don't even know what he does yet, so why would I be, right? But I am very excited about the prospects of a Draconic Warrior. Now, to understand why I think that Draconic Warrior is so cool, let's go into the Wayback Machine, pre-Dynasty, and talk OG Kassai. So OG Kassai Cintauri Sellsword was probably easily my favorite Blitz hero, probably of all time. Really awesome hero, really fun to play. And I was convinced headed into Dynasty that we were going to see an adult Kassai, right? Because it really makes a lot of sense if you're familiar with Kassai's story. She's returning back to the land that we're going to here, right? To, kill the general or defeat the general that killed her father and had her exiled and all that stuff, right? So there's a whole story around that. She belongs in that land, so I was convinced headed into Dynasty that we were going to see an adult Kassai, and I was really excited about this playline you see here, Spoils of War into Cintauri Saber, into Blaze Headlong, into Cintauri Saber, right? I thought that was really, really, really cool, the concept there. So that was something that I was very excited about, right? It wasn't going to change how the deck played much, but I was going to be able to just throw, a couple attack actions in there, maybe even play around with trying to do some Rupture style stuff. And if you then fast forward to today, we've gotten a whole bunch more tools with which to, shall we say, extend the chain and actually make Rupture a little more doable, right? If we were to look at something like an Unsheathed into Cintauri Saber, we then have the Quicksilver Dagger, which is relevant for today's discussion about daggers. Then we could Blaze Headlong and even do like a Lava Burst, right? So this Draconic Warrior could be Boltyn-esque in a way, meaning that it's not just weapon focus, right? There's weapons and attack actions. That was really what I was looking for at a Draconic Warrior. And, I think realistically we're going to see some degree of that once the Hunted comes out and once we see what Fang can do, okay? So we don't know what he does, but we do know from at least the spoilers that we've gotten so far that there's a lot of dagger focus, right? Shouldn't come as a surprise to anybody at this point. Now, we have three very interesting cards that we've seen, the stances. So we have Flurry Stance, Agility Stance, and Power Stance. And I do want to point out, it's funny, all of these have to do with daggers, but actually all of the characters in these cards are actually not holding daggers. Maybe they're just really big daggers or perspective is off. But Agility Stance certainly looks like a sword to me. But either way, so Flurry Stance is for 0. This is the red. So it's all of these have goes. They're all 0 and they're just red, yellow, blue. Flurry is at the start of your turn, destroy it, and you can attack with each dagger you control an additional time. Agility says at the start of your turn, destroy this and your dagger attacks get go again this turn. Then we have Power Stance, which is the start of your turn. Destroy this, and your dagger attacks get +1 this turn. So it's very clear that Fang's going to have something to do with daggers, right? There's no real overall question there. We also know that we should say Syndra, right? Syndra also looks to be dagger focused. So it's very, very, very likely that we'll have probably a shared class dagger is potential. But I'm really thinking we're going to get like a Draconic dagger. I think that makes a lot of sense. And you really want it to be Draconic because there's a lot of cards out there that trigger off of how many Draconic links you have, right? So I think it makes a lot of sense to me to have that. Now, let's go back to the one line I had proposed with Unsheathed. Yes, there's a sword involved there and it's not a dagger. But keep in mind, you have different play styles. But I think you understand functionally where I'm going with this, right, is trying to set up both the weapon attacks and really Rupture line, right? I mean, Lava Burst to end all of that, it's a pretty darn good turn, okay? We also have one more card, which is Long Whisker Loyalty. So this is a Draconic Warrior attack reaction. For 0 red, for each Draconic chain link you control, choose 1. Target dagger gets +2. You can attack additional time with a dagger and then next time a dagger hits a hero, you would mark them. Right, so you see that's exactly what I was just talking a little bit ago. You're rewarded for you are motivated to have more Draconic chain links, and with what Warrior's trying to do, it seems to make sense to me that we'll have a Draconic dagger. And again, whether it's shared or not, we don't know, obviously, but it makes sense that you're going to have something to that line. So whereas, Quicksilver dagger, if we go back to the line that I had up, Quicksilver dagger is kind of cute. Probably you're going to be looking for a Draconic dagger, but we will see. Now, as we start to really explore what will Feng do, I think what we can really start with is looking at what he will actually probably need to do in order to make a lot of this stuff work, right? So if we, there's two things in flight here that we need to remember. The first is that, the Volcore theme, we saw this in Uprising with those two heroes, it's a red theme, right? You want to have a lot of reds. Well, that makes it hard then and obviously he can run blues, not saying he can't, right? But it's going to make it hard to swing your daggers 4 times off of a deck that, at least with theme, predominantly wants to be red. So I really, and let's actually go back to the stances, I'll throw those back up, and you can see that that's really at least one of the sub-themes here for what he's trying to do is get a flurry of dagger strikes in over the course of the turn. So in order to be able to do that, how are you going to pay for that if your daggers cost, right? So maybe the dagger itself is free or gets reduced on a second swing or something like that. But probably Feng himself will have some way to make your daggers more cost efficient. That seems to make sense to me. I mean, if a general dagger in this case, right? Let's just look at Kodachi or something like that. A general dagger in this case would be a 1-drop. Right? Paying 1 for it. Right? Just makes sense. So if you're going to do a 4 swing, if that's what you're supposed to do, which is stabby, stab, 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 he's going to have to come up with a resource somewhere. So, maybe we have something similar to like Kassai Cintauri Sellsword's ability where you're reducing that. Or there's got to be but there has to be something, whether it be him, whether it be the dagger, there's got to be something to make that more realistic. Because you're not going to be holding back 2 blues to be able to come for, a 1 or 2 on a dagger 4 times. That's just not, it's not going to win you fab, right? Not in today's environment. So he's got to have something else there, right? And again, if you have the Draconic links, we've seen there's many Draconic cards out there that get benefits based on the number of links. So, maybe the dagger gets plus something based on the links, or maybe it costs less depending on the links, whatever it may be. But you can see where, you can start to see how the archetype, again, with these stance cards and with Long Whisker Loyalty, you can start to see how the archetype really starts building itself at kind of a functional level where you're trying to go wide and with maybe a rupture, right? And again, we don't know that there's going to be more rupture in the next set, but you have a whole bunch of really good rupture stuff that for certain is going to get tested, especially if the whole idea is to go really wide. Well, why not? You've got someone who can run it. Lava Burst, Blaze Headlong, incredible cards. And I'm really excited to see how it all plays out. So as we, move to end this, I'd really like to hear your ideas. What do you think Feng is going to do? Is it going to be based on links? Is it going to reduce cost? Is it going to increase power? What's your thought? What are your thoughts? So anyway, folks, I'm not super huge on speculation in general. But there's a lot of clues I think we can gather from this in terms of where things probably need to go in order for it to be successful. And at the very least, I'm going to get to throw Blaze Headlong in a Warrior deck, finally. So super exciting. Let me know your thoughts. Thanks for tuning in. Happy Monday, and go Commando.